The police didn't ask me what I saw that night. They asked something much stranger. They asked why I kept trying to open locker 17. After the gym manager clearly told me no one had rented it for months. The answer is simple. Because I heard someone knocking from inside it. My name is Melissa, and this happened in 2023, just outside Phoenix. I'm not the type of person who scares easily. I work late hospital shifts, drive home alone at night, and usually go to the gym after midnight when it's quiet. That routine had never bothered me before. Until that Thursday. I usually reached the gym around 12:15 a.m. The place stayed open 24 hours, but after 10 p.m. there was no staff, just members scanning their access cards to get in. That night felt normal at first. A couple of cars in the parking lot, music playing softly inside, two guys lifting near the free weights. Nothing unusual. I started with cardio, then moved to machines. Around 1 a.m., the other members gradually left. I didn't think much of it. Late-night workouts always ended that way. By 1:20 a.m., I was alone, or at least I thought I was. I was wiping down a machine when I heard a dull metallic tap. Not loud, just a soft clink. It came from the locker room hallway. I paused and listened. Nothing else followed. I assumed someone had left a locker door slightly open, and it shifted when the air conditioning kicked in. I finished my set. A minute later, the sound came again. Clink. This time it was followed by something quieter, like a light scrape. I walked toward the locker room, not really worried, just curious. Inside, everything looked normal. Rows of gray lockers. Bright lights. No one there. But one thing stood out. Locker 17 was slightly vibrating. Not shaking, just a faint, subtle movement, like something inside had barely touched the door. I stared at it for a few seconds, expecting it to stop. It didn't. My first assumption was that someone had left their phone inside on vibrate mode. That seemed logical. People forget things all the time. I walked up to the locker and knocked lightly. "Hello? Anyone here?" I said jokingly. No response. I bent down slightly to listen closer. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Very faint. Slow. I froze. Then it stopped completely. I stepped back immediately, heart racing, trying to convince myself I imagined it. Maybe it was airflow through the locker vents. Maybe I was tired. I left the locker room and went back to the workout floor. But something didn't feel right anymore. Around 10 minutes later, I heard the front entrance door make the electronic unlocking click, the sound that happens when someone scans their card. I looked up, relieved that someone else had arrived. But no one walked in. The door stayed closed. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I checked the parking lot through the glass. Empty. That's when I started feeling uncomfortable. Not scared yet, just uneasy. I decided to finish one last exercise and leave. As I passed the locker room hallway on my way to the exit, I heard it again. A banging sound this time. I stopped walking. Another hit came from inside the locker room. Slow, not frantic, just deliberate. I didn't want to go back in there, but I also couldn't ignore it. If someone was stuck inside a locker, maybe messing around, maybe injured, I had to check. I walked inside again. Locker 17 was moving more clearly now. Not violently, but enough that I could see the door shift with each impact from inside. My throat went dry. "Is someone in there?" I asked loudly. Silence. Then, one single knock from inside. I backed away immediately. I don't know why I did it. Maybe instinct. Maybe panic. But I grabbed the handle and pulled. Locked. I pulled again harder. Still locked. I stepped back, grabbed my phone, and started dialing the gym's emergency number posted near the mirror. Before the call connected, the locker stopped moving. Completely. No sound. No breathing. Nothing. It took about 20 minutes for the overnight maintenance supervisor to arrive. I waited outside the building because I didn't want to stay alone inside anymore. When he unlocked the office and grabbed the locker master key, I told him everything. The sounds, the knocking, the breathing. He didn't laugh like I expected. He actually looked concerned. We walked back into the locker room together. He stood in front of locker 17, paused for a moment, and then unlocked it. The door opened. Empty. No bag. No person. Nothing. Just bare metal shelves. I felt embarrassed instantly. I swear it was moving, I told him. I heard breathing. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he crouched down and looked at the bottom edge of the locker. Then he said something strange. This one was supposed to be taken out of service months ago. He showed me the inside corner of the locker. There was a small drilled hole, barely noticeable, near the back panel. Maintenance was supposed to replace this, he said quietly. It connects to the utility crawl space behind the wall. I felt my stomach tighten. You mean someone could get inside from behind? He nodded slowly. Technically, yes. The gym manager reviewed entry logs. No new member scans during the time I was inside. That meant whoever caused the locker movement didn't enter through the front door. Police arrived and inspected the back maintenance corridor. Behind the locker wall was a narrow service passage used for wiring and plumbing access. And they found something there. Fresh footprints and dust, a small flashlight, and an empty water bottle. Someone had been inside that crawl space recently. Very recently. 2 days later, the gym temporarily closed at night while security upgrades were installed. Police eventually caught a man who had been sleeping in various commercial maintenance spaces in the area. He had previously worked in building repair jobs and knew how to access service corridors that most people didn't even realize existed. According to the report, he had likely entered the crawl space earlier that night and was moving between wall sections when he heard someone in the locker room. Me. He apparently tried to stay still, but when he shifted his position, the locker panel moved. That was the knocking. That was the breathing. And when I left the locker room to call the emergency number, he crawled farther down the service corridor and exited through an unlocked maintenance hatch outside the building. He had been only a few inches behind the locker door while I stood there, listening. I still go to the gym, but never after midnight, and never to facilities that feel empty enough where you can hear your own footsteps echo. Because that night changed something in me. I used to think danger in a gym meant dropped weights or equipment accidents. Now I know something else. Some buildings have spaces most people never see. Narrow maintenance corridors, ceiling gaps, utility tunnels, places where someone could move without being noticed for a long time. And sometimes, when you think a locker is rattling because of airflow or vibration, it might be because someone is only a thin sheet of metal away from you, waiting for you to leave. The gym manager told police something that still doesn't make sense to me. According to the entry logs, the last person who scanned out of the building that night was me. But security footage clearly shows someone else leaving. 20 minutes after I was already gone. My name is Trevor, and this happened in late 2021 when I was living in Seattle. At the time, I worked a late warehouse shift, so my workouts usually started around midnight. The gym I used was open 24 hours. Not a big franchise, just a mid-sized neighborhood fitness center inside a converted commercial building. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet at night, which is why I liked it. And for almost a year, nothing unusual ever happened. Until that Tuesday. I arrived at about 12:10 a.m., scanned my access card, and walked in. 2 other people were already there. A guy doing bench press and a woman stretching near the mirrors. Music was playing softly through the speakers, and everything felt normal. I started with squats. About 20 minutes later, the guy on the bench packed up and left. I heard the exit door beep when he scanned out. Maybe 10 minutes after that, the woman also left. By 12:50 a.m., I was alone. That wasn't unusual. Late-night workouts often ended that way. I moved to the cable machines, put my headphones on, and kept training. That's when the first strange thing happened. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the cardio section. One of the treadmills powered on by itself. At first, I assumed someone had come in without me noticing. Sometimes people entered quietly if you were focused on a set. I turned around fully, expecting to see someone stepping onto the machine. No one was there. The treadmill belt was slowly moving at the lowest speed setting. I walked over and stopped it, checking around the gym floor. Empty. I remember thinking maybe someone had pressed the quick start button earlier and it had just activated late due to a system delay. That sounded logical enough, so I didn't think much about it. I went back to my workout. 5 minutes later, the same treadmill started again. I was about to walk over and stop it when I heard the entrance door make the electronic unlock click, the sound that happens when someone scans their card to enter. I looked up immediately. No one walked in. The glass door stayed closed. I stared at it for a few seconds, waiting. Nothing. Then I checked the parking lot through the window. Completely empty. That was the moment I started feeling uncomfortable. Not scared yet, just uneasy in a way I couldn't explain. Around 1:10 a.m., I decided to grab water from my locker before finishing my last sets. As I walked toward the hallway, I noticed the locker room light flicker once, like someone had just turned it on. When I stepped inside, though, no one was there. What did catch my attention was locker 42. Its door wasn't fully closed, just slightly open, maybe an inch. I didn't remember seeing it open earlier, but I hadn't paid close attention either. I grabbed my bottle from my locker, shut the door, and started to walk out. That's when I heard something behind me. A soft shuffle. Not loud, more like fabric brushing metal. I turned around quickly. Locker 42 was now completely shut. I stood there for a moment, staring at it. I told myself the air conditioning must have pulled the door closed. That explanation sounded thin, but it was enough for me to leave the locker room and get back to the workout floor. I was doing shoulder presses in front of the mirrors when I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. In the reflection behind me, near the stretching area, I thought I saw movement, like someone briefly stepping past the hallway entrance. I turned around immediately. Nothing. Empty gym. I stood there for a long moment, listening carefully. That's when I realized something strange. The music had stopped playing. I hadn't noticed exactly when. The silence made every small sound feel louder. The hum of the lights, the faint buzz of machines, even my own breathing. I decided I was done for the night. I packed my things, wiped down the equipment, and walked toward the exit. Before leaving, I glanced once more across the gym floor, half expecting to see someone standing somewhere I hadn't checked. Still empty. I scanned my card at the exit panel. The door beeped and unlocked. I stepped outside, walked to my car, and drove home. That should have been the end of it. But the next afternoon, I received a phone call from the gym manager. He asked if I had been in the gym around midnight the night before. I said yes. He paused for a moment and then asked something that confused me. Did you notice anyone else inside after 1 a.m.? I told him no. I was alone when I left. He then said they were reviewing security footage because the alarm system showed interior motion after closing hours, even though no new entry scans had been recorded. I figured it was probably a sensor malfunction. Then he said something that made my chest tighten. Footage shows someone leaving the building at 1:42 a.m., he said. But the last exit scan logged was yours at 1:19. Later that day, I went to the gym office where the manager and a local police officer showed me the recording. The camera angle was from inside the lobby, facing the exit door. At 1:19 a.m., the video clearly showed me scanning my card and leaving. Then the lobby stayed empty for over 20 minutes. At 1:42 a.m., the door suddenly opened from the inside. A man wearing a gray hoodie walked out calmly and disappeared off camera. No exit scan, no entry scan earlier, just someone who had apparently already been inside. I felt a cold wave move through my chest as I watched it, because I had walked through that entire building minutes earlier, believing I was alone. Police checked the facility that night and discovered something none of the members knew. At the back of the building, behind a locked maintenance hallway, there was a small equipment storage room that hadn't been used in years. The lock was old, and the door frame was slightly damaged, enough that someone could force it open quietly. Inside the room they found empty food containers, a folded blanket, a portable phone charger, and a backpack containing spare clothes. Someone had been staying there, possibly for days, maybe longer. A few days later, the gym contacted members who regularly worked out during late-night hours. They told us police believed the man had been entering the building before midnight, hiding in the unused storage room, and leaving hours later after members were gone. But one detail bothered me more than anything else. Based on timestamps from the cameras, he had likely come out of hiding while I was still working out, moving somewhere in the building where cameras didn't fully cover the floor. That meant when I thought I saw movement in the mirror, I probably wasn't imagining it. About 2 weeks later, police arrested a man who had been sleeping in unused commercial spaces around the area. He had previous trespassing charges and admitted to staying in several buildings after finding maintenance access points. They couldn't prove he intended to harm anyone, but they confirmed he had been inside the gym multiple nights, watching, waiting until everyone left before coming out. I still go to the gym, but never at midnight anymore. And I never assume a place is empty just because I don't see anyone. Large buildings have blind spots, storage rooms, maintenance areas, corners that cameras don't fully cover. Places where someone could remain unnoticed far longer than you'd expect. Sometimes people ask why I stopped doing late-night workouts if nothing actually happened to me. I always tell them the same thing. Because I watched that security footage, and I realized something I can't forget. On the night, I thought I was training alone. Someone else was inside the building the entire time, quietly waiting for the moment when he believed. Everyone else had already gone home. I used to believe the safest place at 1 a.m. was the gym, bright lights, security cameras, locked doors. That belief ended the night I found out someone had been inside the building for weeks without ever scanning a key card. The police later told me something I still can't forget. He wasn't following random people. He was following me. And the first time I realized I wasn't alone in that gym, I was already locked inside with him. My name is Daniel, and this happened in 2022 in a small town outside Columbus. I was 27, recently moved, no friends yet, new job, new apartment, and like a lot of guys trying to rebuild their life, I bought a 24-hour gym membership. The gym wasn't fancy, just a local 24/7 fitness center about 10 minutes from my apartment. No big franchise name, no smoothie bar, no crowds after 10 p.m. That's why I liked it. I usually trained late, around midnight. Less people, no waiting for machines. Just me, music, and iron. At least, that's how it started. The first time something fell off, I brushed it aside. It was around 1:15 a.m. I was doing heavy bench presses. The gym was empty. I checked when I walked in. Front desk unstaffed after 10 p.m. You scan your key card, and that's it. Halfway through my third set, I heard a plate clink behind me. You know that metal-on-metal sound? Like someone sliding a 45-pound plate onto a bar? I sat up and looked. The squat rack behind me had a bar loaded with plates. I remember thinking, okay, someone else is here. No big deal. I didn't hear them come in, but whatever. I finished my set, stood up, and looked around. No one. Locker room door closed. Cardio area empty. Mirrors showing nothing but rows of machines. The bar and the squat rack was loaded unevenly. 2 plates on one side, 1 on the other. It looked wrong, like someone started loading and stopped midway. I felt annoyed more than scared. Some idiot must have walked out mid-set. I shrugged it off and left. Over the next week, I noticed things. Small things. The cable machine weight pin would move between sets. The leg press sled would be slightly pushed up when I clearly left it racked. My water bottle once rolled off the bench, but I could have nudged it. I told myself I was being paranoid. But then came the security camera moment. Every gym has those little dome cameras in the ceiling. One night, around 12:40 a.m., I was doing lap pull-downs when I felt it. That feeling of being watched. I looked up. The camera above the cable station was tilted, not down toward the equipment. It was angled slightly toward the corner wall. I stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly it rotated. Just a few degrees. Back toward me. I froze. Cameras don't usually move unless someone is controlling them, which meant someone was awake, watching. At 12:40 a.m., I waved at it, half joking. Nothing happened. I told myself the owner was probably checking in remotely. Still, I cut my workout short that night. A few days later, I finally saw someone. It was around 1:30 a.m. I was finishing deadlifts when I saw movement in the mirror behind me. A tall guy, black hoodie, hood up, standing near the treadmills. He wasn't working out, just standing there, looking in my direction. I turned around directly to face him. He didn't move. "Hey," I said. No response. He slowly turned and walked toward the locker room hallway. No bag, no water bottle, just hands in hoodie pocket. I waited. 10 minutes passed. He didn't come out. I walked to the locker room. Empty. Every stall open. Showers off. There's only one exit. The front door. It makes a loud magnetic click when opened. I never heard it. My stomach dropped. The next day, I came during staffed hours and told the front desk employee what happened. She laughed. Said, "Yeah, we get some weird night people." I asked if they could check cameras from around 1:30 a.m. She looked confused. "We don't have remote camera access after hours. Only live feed during staff times." That didn't make sense. "What about last night?" I asked. Someone was controlling the camera. She shook her head. "Our cameras don't rotate." I felt cold. "They're fixed." I didn't tell her the rest. I just nodded and left. I should have quit, but I didn't. Stubbornness is dangerous. 1 week later, I came in at midnight. Parking lot empty. As I walked in, I had this weird hesitation, like my body didn't want me there. But I scanned in anyway. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. I started on treadmill warm-up. 5 minutes in, I heard a locker slam. Loud. Metal echoing down the hallway. I stopped the treadmill and listened. Silence. Then another slam. I grabbed my phone and walked toward the locker room. "Hello," I called out. Nothing. I pushed the door open slowly. One locker door was swinging back and forth. Back. Forth. Back. No one inside. I stepped closer. Inside the locker was my gym bag. My heart stopped. I hadn't brought a gym bag that night. I only had my keys and phone in my pocket. I stared at it. It was black. Same brand as mine. But it wasn't mine. I backed away. That's when I heard breathing. Not mine. Heavy. Slow. Behind me. I turned around fast. Empty hallway. But the breathing didn't stop. It echoed slightly, like someone just around the corner. I walked out of the locker room fast. The front door was still locked. I hadn't heard it open. That night, I left immediately. When I got home, around 1:50 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message said, "You lift heavy for someone who doesn't watch his back." My hands started shaking. No emojis. No extra text. Just that. I tried calling the number. Disconnected. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went to the local police department. I filed a report. They took it seriously, mostly because of the message. An officer contacted the gym owner. That's when things got worse. The owner said something that still makes me sick. He said there had been complaints before. Late-night members reporting someone else inside, when entry logs showed no additional keycard scans. But they never found proof. The police requested camera footage. That's when we learned something chilling. The camera system had a secondary admin login. Someone had accessed it multiple nights around midnight. But the IP address traced back to inside the building. Not remote. Inside. 2 days later, police searched the building after hours. There was a locked maintenance closet near the electrical panel. Behind it was a crawl space. Not large, but big enough for someone to move. And there were things inside. Empty water bottles, protein bar wrappers, a sleeping bag, and printed screenshots. Screenshots of members working out, including me. Dozens of them. Different angles. Different days. He had been inside the ceiling or crawl space, watching through vents. The hoodie guy wasn't a member. He never scanned in. He had been living inside parts of the gym. For weeks. Maybe longer. They arrested a 34-year-old former maintenance contractor. He used to work on the building's wiring years ago. He still had an old access key. He knew the blind spots. He knew the crawl spaces. He had been coming in after midnight, watching people train alone, studying patterns, following routines. Mine especially. Police later told me he had a notebook. He wrote things like, bench night, alone, deadlift, no headphones first set, leaves at 1:45 a.m. He was mapping me, learning me. The text message came from a prepaid phone found in his bag. I don't train late anymore. I switched gyms. Different city now. I never wear both headphones in. I always check mirrors. And sometimes, even now, if I hear a plate clink behind me, my chest tightens. The scariest part isn't ghosts. It isn't demons. It's realizing how easy it is for someone to watch you without you knowing. Gyms feel safe. Bright lights. Cameras. Open space. But at 1 a.m., when you're alone and focused on your own reflection, you might not notice someone studying you from the dark. If you train late, check the ceiling, check the corners, and never assume you're alone just because the parking lot is empty. Because I did, and I was wrong.